Stop using the 70% rule. The 70% rule is screwing you up. The real estate wholesaling gurus have tricked you into thinking the 7% rule is the greatest thing ever. The honest truth is you should never be using the 7% rule. It's an old, outdated, antiquated system. And in today's video, I'm gonna show you exactly the right system to use, why you should never use the 70% rule, and honestly, how you can ditch MAO for a brand new strategy where you don't have to be comping for hours and hours every single day. And you get straight into making offers and straight into making a ton of wholesaling real estate profits and assignment fees. But before I expose the wholesaling real estate guru game again, and before I give you thousands of dollars a game absolutely for free, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. So I'm being straight up. The 7% rule sucks. And if you might be asking, what is the 70% rule? The 70% rule is a rule most real estate wholesaling influencers, gurus, coaches, whatever you want to call them, have basically said for the last 30 years in real estate wholesaling. Figure out what the property is worth in its best condition, the ARV of sorts, where what is the property going to be worth if it's all fixed up and nice and beautiful, and then minus off what the repair costs would be to fix up the house, and then multiply that by 70%. Now, I'll be honest with you, this rule still works for properties that are really cheap. So I've statistically found that these type of deals actually work if the property is worth under $120,000 with an ARV. But let me tell you why the guru game and the real estate wholesaling industry have always talked about the 7% rule. 70% rule is really a thing in the 90s and early 2000s when the average house was worth a bundle of crackers, basically. It was 150 grand was the average house, maybe 140 for the average property, and the 70% rule worked really well. Fast forward to today in 2023, the average home price in the United States of America is over $410,000. So why are we not updating the rules if the average house in the United States has doubled, if not tripled, since 2008? The problem is the real estate gurus that taught you today learned from a real estate guru that did wholesaling in the early 2000s. Then that person stole the 70% rule from somebody that's doing wholesaling in the 80s. And so we're really passing down this antiquated system that's really not working anymore. But the system still works for many wholesalers because the gurus think you're stupid. Let me explain. If you can do your ARV and your comps and your repair costs correctly, you will find roughly cash buyers in properties where the ARV is $400,000 to $500,000, they'll buy them for 83% of ARV minus repairs, not 70. So if I use the 70% rule on houses that are worth over $400,000, which is the average price in the United States of America, my break-even MAO would be $54,000, which means if I go against my MAO, or I just do what my MAO is, I make $54,000 every deal. And I hate to tell you, the average wholesaler is not making 54 grand every single deal, which either means the gurus are wrong or everyone's going against their MAO. And I think people are following their MAOs pretty well. This is why so many people do a calculation and they feel like that's the highest they can ever offer, breaking even. And the seller always says, no, that's way too low. Because most sellers aren't willing to give up 55 grand in equity for a real estate deal. But they'll give up 10, 15 grand. And honestly, that's enough margin for you and me, I think, to make a ton of money on assignment deals. Gurus think you're really stupid and they're using human nature to keep the 70% rule perpetuating for yourself. Let me explain. Most people want to make the most per real estate deal. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? If I have every deal and I can make $1 million per deal, of course I would do it. But the gurus assume that you are being stupid. What does this mean? Well, let's say we're trying to sell a Mickey Mantle signed baseball, and I go to eBay to see what these signed baseballs are selling for. I'm gonna see that the average signed baseball there is selling between $2,000 to $3,000. And then I see one baseball that sold for $500, and then I see one baseball that sold for $50,000 because it's like a World Series game. What the average human being does is say, oh, this Mickey Mantle baseball sold for $50,000. That means my baseball is worth $50,000. It's not worth $2,000 or $500. It's going to be worth this $50,000 one, this outlier. That is what mine is. And the problem is a lot of beginner wholesalers do that. They look at other 3.2s and the same square footage properties that are really similar, and they see one outrageous one with a pool that's brand new, that's not even close to the amount of quality that their bad deal is. And they assume that my deal is worth this $300 square foot one, Even though the average, if you look up the mean of it, you know, the last 5 or 6, 7 homes that sold are like 150 a square foot. The average newbie is going to go after the ones that sold for too high because they want to be optimistic. They want to try to feel like they got the best deal. And the problem is you bring that deal over to a cash buyer, they're going to be the opposite. When I'm looking to buy something, let's say if I'm looking to buy a Mickey Mantle baseball, I'm not going to look at the $50,000 one. I'm only going to look at the $500 one that sold and say, oh, it's worth $500. But if they're smart, they'll see the $2,000 to $3,000 sold and be like, okay, I can probably be around $1,500, maybe $2,000 to buy it. And so that's the problem. A lot of newbie wholesalers overshoot what the property's worth. And so of course, if you do a crazy multiplier to reduce it, then yeah, I guess the 70% rule works. But when you actually do your comps correctly and you follow what we say in freeholding.com and you know how to do the repair cost the right way, you actually can't use the 70% rule because you're actually too accurate with your numbers. And you know exactly what your property will sell for, so you know to a T with your negotiations what the bottom line you can do. So if you really want to know exactly the right formulas to start wholesaling when you're making your offers, this is what it is, and this is my sheet. ARV minus repairs multiplied by 7% works when the ARV is below $120,000. Now when the ARV is 120 to 200, as you can see here, we can multiply it by 80. And then it's between 200 to 275,000. We can do 83% and then 85% for anything above 300K. Now the question is, how do I do repair costs perfectly? Do I have to do a full 5-hour analysis? No. Right here is my simple repair cost worksheet. It's really divvied up between the square footages. We have 1,500 square feet and below. We have 1,500 square feet to 3,000, and then 3,000 square feet plus. And then we're divvied up between light, medium, and heavy repairs. Inside of freeholding.com, my free wholesaling course, I show you exactly what constitutes a light repair, a medium repair, and a heavy one. Now, here's the honest truth. That's all you really need to do is stress over what your ARV should be or your repair costs. Make it simple, make it easy. You really should stop stressing over your MAO, your max allowable offer, and start focusing instead on your LAO, or your least allowable offer. Your least allowable offer is going to be what the lowest you can offer without the seller pretty much biting your head off and just being so mad and angry at you. In my humble opinion, the best calculations for LAO is about 70% multiplied by the MAO. And that should be a really, really low offer to the seller initially, where you're going to go for that no. But remember, the lower offer price you make, the better chance you are at getting the best offer price and the best contract price, which is the most assignment fees for you. So really, I'm gonna put you on a shot clock for yourself here. I'm only gonna give you about 5 to 10 minutes at most to comp and do ARV for properties. So many beginners watching this want to spend hours and hours and hours on comping the perfect property, when the honest truth is you shouldn't be doing that. Do a quick comp and just focus on making the lowest offer and focus on the seller and their solutions. And don't be using the 70% rule, which is going to screw you up. Yes, if your average median home price is below 120 grand, sure, go after it. But for most wholesalers watching this, and the reason why you're giving way too low of offers and you're getting no traction at all, it's because the wholesaling gurus have screwed you up. Make sure you go to freeholding.com to learn exactly how to calculate ARV and MAO the right way and go after the lowest offers possible so you can have wholesaling success. Guys, go to freeholding.com. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if you got any value, and I'll see you on the next one. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.